Hey everyone, Happy New Year 2026. We had really wet, active weather around Christmas all the way through early January, especially Christmas Eve and January 1st. But it looks like dry weather for much of January is in store after a very wet start, especially in California. Let's take a look at things on this weather insight. Okay, on the left-hand side, we show the average weather pattern from November all the way through early January. And you can see three different features. A dip in the jet stream across the west, especially into California. Another significant dip in the jet stream across the northeast and New England, allowing all that cold air. And a persistent upper-level ridge in the Four Corners area. Yes, that's the area that typically sees an upper ridge in the summer, but this is very unusual. This is a carryover all the way through the first part of the winter, and that's resulting in the really warm conditions in the Great Basin. Now, look on the right-hand side. That's percent of normal precipitation. I went all the way back to October 1st because that's the start of the water year, and you can really see areas that stand out when you do that. Central Southern California and the Northern Plains. Yes, you're right, this is not a typical La Nina pattern, but it is a La Nina pattern that we've seen recently, like in 2017 and 2023. Look at the dry conditions, though, in Texas, and really 2/3 of the country being below average. Okay, speaking of those temperatures, take a look at this. Now, we showed maps from last summer, you may recall, and the epicenter of the really warm air was the northern Great Basin, as shown here. And this has continued now through the winter. So this is unusual to see a summer pattern continue all the way into the first part of the winter. So really warm conditions in the Intermountain West. That's led to lack of snowpack, snow melt, and really difficult conditions on the ski industry in that area. Now look at the Northeast. Now, they've had some really cold weather the past 2 months, and even when you go back to October, it stands out as really warm in the west and really cold, colder than normal in the northeast. Okay, let's break down the west a little closer. Percent of normal precipitation. It really stands out. Now, on the left-hand side, I took a look over the past couple months, so 60 days. Look at the purple shading in Southern California and Southern Nevada. Also up in Montana. So you can clearly see where the activity's gone. Two big events really stand out. One of them was in Wrightwood, California, where the pictures are shown here. And that was on Christmas Eve. The other one was January 1st, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day for San Diego, as shown here, where large-scale flooding along the San Diego River and other parts, including University Heights in San Diego. So very wet conditions, not just recently, but the entire water year so far has been much above normal. You can see 2, 3, 4, 5 times above normal, especially in Southern California. Okay, I talked about the lack of snow in the west. So we had insult to injury. We had lack of snow, and we've also had rain, high elevation snow. So this picture on the left-hand side is Mountain High. They were devastated by heavy rain on Christmas Eve, and now the warm temperatures has also eroded almost all of the snow. This was after really good conditions and 2 feet of snow before Thanksgiving. So very warm conditions. Now it's been even warmer than California. The Great Basin area has been much above normal for the whole winter so far, and it shows here where the epicenter of it is the northern Great Basin. Okay, the snowpack was at record lows due to the warmth and lack of precipitation in the Sierra Nevada. And what precipitation they did have was rain up until Christmas Eve. Now, we started off record low, and now we're right around where we should be, at least statewide. A lot of the winter to go, January through March, are big precipitation months normally. Now, if you look at a whole, it's 90% of average for the snowpack in the Sierra Nevada. The Central Sierra, or the Tahoe region, is right around average, if not slightly above. I have a photo here of Mammoth where the snow was piled up on the summit just the past day. I also included some snowfall totals. Now, a lot of these numbers before Christmas Eve were in the single digits or teens. Very little snow. The main snow was a little bit of October snow, and that was about it. And then a little bit more in November. So we're now seeing numbers, 150 inches of snowfall, that have brought us to near average. Okay, what's in store for the rest of the month? Well, unfortunately for January, all indications are for dry, below average precipitation for not just California, but much of the West. So I've got an arrow pointed in the upper left, jet stream going up into British Columbia now. So we've got some big atmospheric rivers coming from north of Hawaii up into British Columbia over the next week. Now, week 2, mid-January, we see that really what we call amplified, where it's not just British Columbia, it goes up until Alaska. And the dry expands over the west in California and the eastern Pacific. I did put an arrow, though. Notice in week 2, there's still tropical moisture. Tropical moisture. That brought the rain January 1st in Southern California and Christmas Eve. So there's still tropical moisture not far away to our south. So slight changes in the weather pattern can result in big changes a week to 2 weeks from now. Now, on the right-hand side, I go into week 3, and you can see the dryness continues over the Pacific Northwest and Northern California with a little opening. We call that a little window of opportunity from the south. And then when you get into week 4 or the end of January, you can see the West Coast starts getting average to above average wet again. So we're not going to give up in this month by any means. We could see a more active weather pattern after a couple weeks of dry, 10 days or so of dry. We could see active weather pattern in late January returning to the west. Now you can look at other parts of the country. You can see the Northeast is wet now, then they dry out, and then they stay dry and they go back and forth. So kind of normal conditions there when you average it out. The signatures that really stand out over the next week or so, it's the Mid-Atlantic region being dry, and then it's Northern California and the Pacific Northwest being dry, where the atmospheric river activity is going to be in the Pacific and shunted to the north up into British Columbia and then even further north into Alaska. So we may have to wait. Our precipitation in terms of overall averages will decrease rapidly because January is a very wet month in California, not the wettest, February is. But when we go 10 days, maybe 2 weeks without snow, our snowpack is average now, so that's going to quickly start to drop well below average again. But at least we have a solid snowpack in place for the Sierra Nevada of California. And not to mention the precipitation alleviating the drought in the Pacific Northwest and even adding some snowpack up there back in December when the first atmospheric rivers hit that area. We hope you found this useful insight. You can find more information on our blog, including a detailed recap of the floods in San Diego on January 1st and the Wrightwood incident on December 24th, Christmas Eve. We also post short videos on TikTok and YouTube and real-time information on X and also on Threads. The Tardy blog is where you can sign up and get some insights on everything we just talked about as well. All right, Happy New Year again, everyone, 2026. Hope you enjoyed this insight and be safe as we dry out for a little bit here in January in California.